Hello, and welcome to Unit 3, Geography. Woo! I hope you're excited. I know I've been telling you how excited I am to get started with this unit. Geography is a very important topic and something that's going to affect a lot of the things that we learn throughout the rest of the year. So having this information as our basis is going to be an excellent start. Now during this lesson, we are going to learn the answers to two very important questions. First of all, what is geography? Second, how is it studied? Now before we get started, I want to make sure you're ready. So, do you have your notes page out? Grab your pencil and get ready to record all the relevant information you hear during this video. Okay, now that you're ready, let's get started. So what is geography? Geography is the study of everything in or on the earth, including the physical features of the earth and its atmosphere, for example, mountains and roads like we've discussed during last unit, as well as the human activity. Human activity as it affects the earth, as well as how it is affected by the earth. What do we mean by that? Well, human activity, how it affects the earth. Think about land use, industries, our use of resources. How it is affected by the earth's features. Think about climate and environment and landscape and how that affects where people live, what they can do for work, and the other things that we talked about during last unit. So who are geographers? Well, like we also discussed last unit, geographers are the ones who study everything in or on the earth. That includes Earth's natural environment and human society. And most specifically, the relationship between human society and the natural environment. They describe a place by finding its physical and human characteristics. They ask two very important basic questions. Where is it located? And why is it there? Now think about those questions in the context of some of the discussions we had about the ancient civilizations and the start of the early man. Sound familiar, huh? Okay, so there are 5 themes of geography. 5, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count them. Okay. These themes help us answer the same questions that geographers ask. Where is it located and why is it there? First theme, location. Place, human-environment interaction, also known as HEI because it's such a long term, movement, and lastly, region. Now, I'm going to give a bonus point to any students who can come up with a good mnemonic device to remember these 5 themes. What is a mnemonic device, you ask? A mnemonic device is something that helps us remember something that we've learned, like creating an expression or a word out of it. Let me give you an example. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Does that sound familiar? That helps you remember the order of operations, right? Please, parentheses, excuse, exponents, my, multiplication, dear, division, aunt, addition, Sally, subtraction. Okay, so if somebody can come up with a really good mnemonic device for us to remember the 5 themes of geography, bonus points. Okay, so now that you're thinking about how to organize your notes, listed on this screen are 5 very good topics for your main ideas. Hint, hint, wink, wink. All right, so let's talk about the first theme, location. Determining location is the first step in studying a place. You need to learn about where it is. Now, there are 2 ways to describe where it is. There's absolute location, which is the exact place on the earth, and relative location, which explains what it is nearby. So first, let's talk about absolute location. So absolute location, that is a specific place on the map on Earth's surface. We describe absolute location using a grid system of latitude and longitude. So for example, what you see here. A street address could be an exact location in your town. A location using latitude and longitude could be similar. So think of it as a global address. You have your local address, which would be your house number and your street, and then you have your latitude and your longitude, which would be your global address. For example, 22 degrees north, 159 degrees east, like you see there. I will give extra credit homework points if you look up this absolute location and tell me what it is. Look it up. Okay. Latitude and longitude are some very important terms that we are going to be using frequently. So let's talk a little bit more about them. So this is a map of the globe, and it shows the lines of latitude and longitude. Okay, so lines of longitude, if I can get my pen working here, go from north to south. So they run long down the globe. Lines of latitude run east and west. So they go across the globe. Okay, so something very important that you also need to notice here. Right along the edges, you can see that print. They are degrees. 20 degrees, 40 degrees, 60 degrees, 80 degrees. Now, you'll notice none of these have listed north, south, east, or west. Why is that? We've talked about our friend, the compass rose. Right here on the map, you will see what is called a compass rose, or sometimes called a wind rose. This is a figure that's put on maps or nautical charts to display the orientation of cardinal directions. So north, south, east, and west. So if we were to take a look at this compass rose and map that out on our globe, we would have north, east, south, and west. So this is how we would know our degrees. If we were in this area, we would have 60 degrees west. If you were in this quadrant, you would be east. And again, the lines of longitude run from north to south. Okay. So that is absolute location. If you're talking about relative location, again, describing a place based on what it's near, you would give cardinal directions like north, south, east, or west, or explain something that it's near or a distance from something. So for example, I live east of Ballackinwood, or Ballackinwood is near Kinwood Elementary. So that would be a relative location. Okay, so our second theme, place. Place describes what the location is like to distinguish it from another place. Sounds pretty straightforward. So there are two types of features that describe a place. You can have the natural, physical characteristics. That would include your landforms and bodies of water, like continents, mountains, oceans, rivers. Or you can have your human features of a place. These would be things that describe the people of the place, for example, their culture, their religion, or the modifications that they have made to a place. For example, the cities that they've built, or the structures like bridges and monuments. Physical features also include animal and plant life of a place. So you need to think about vegetation if you're thinking about physical features, where you would think about language, people, or man-made structures for human features. Our third theme, human-environment interaction. Again, we're going to continue to call this HEI because it's such a long name. So HEI describes how humans adapt to the environment, modify the environment, or depend on the environment. What do we mean by that? Adapt to the environment. Check out our friends here in the igloo. They are living under some pretty frigid temperatures, but they've adapted to the environment by building themselves a shelter that's suitable for the location. Modify the environment. Years ago, people got around on horse and buggy. Now we've built roads so that we can commute in automobiles. That would be a modification we've made to the land and our environment. Depending on our environment. This is how we need and use the natural resources of the environment. Now, all of these interactions have different benefits as well as consequences. The consequences of some of these actions depend on how people choose to interact with the world and their resources. As we will get into later this week, there can be some negative consequences to how humans interact with their environment. Again, history repeats itself, so if we study history and we learn some of the things that people have done, maybe we can better improve our plans to interact with the environment, right? There we go. Okay, our fourth theme, movement. Movement refers to the way people, goods, information, and ideas move from one place to another. So what do we mean by people moving from one place to another? People travel. People relocate. Why do people do that? And when they do, what do they bring with them? They bring their language, their culture, their religion. Goods moving. Well, not everything is made in the United States, correct? So think about that. How do all of those goods get shipped here? Or how do all the goods that we make here get to other locations in the world? Information and ideas. How do we share information that we have here and ideas that we have with people around the world? So again, people bring and spread their own culture as they move about the world. And that's what helps us become connected. We become connected and are dependent on each other. Connectedness is a way of looking at the world, and it changes the way places and people look. So today, there's a term for this. We call this globalization. Because of all the means of communication that we have and our other capabilities of technology and progressions in the world, we're able to connect globally and exchange people, goods, information, and ideas on a global basis. Theme 5, region. Region is an area that is defined by certain similar or unifying characteristics. For example, physical characteristics, natural or human, or cultural characteristics. These can all be used to describe a region. For example, the climate of a region could be tropical or it could be dry. The land could have mountains or it could be flat and have plains. Population could be very dense, like in a city, or very sparse, like in a suburban area, rural area. Industry. You can have lots of agriculture and farming based on what type of land you have, or you could be in a city, again, with banking as your main industry. And government. You could have a monarchy or a democracy. So all of these things are unifying characteristics that a region would have. For example, take a look at the states map. Okay, not all states are similar. We do not have the same climate as California. We do not have the same crops as Texas or Nebraska. We do not have the same accents as people from Boston or South Carolina. All of these things would be regional characteristics, but those can change over time. So think about how people would act and speak when our country